I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Hey, you guys, happy Friday and welcome back to the News du Jour. We made it to the weekend. Hallelujah. I am so excited to do some resting this weekend because last weekend, if you guys followed along, we put together our entire nursery and all of the furniture, deep cleaned the entire space beforehand. It was exhausting being in my third trimester of pregnancy and doing all of that work. So this weekend we are sitting on our behinds and just soaking up this season of life. So I'm really excited for that. Anywho, we have just a short episode for you guys today. There wasn't a ton of crazy news going on, even with the war. So anyway, we'll start with Ukraine and go from there. So first up, in regards to Ukraine, but sort of, not directly, Biden plans to release oil reserves. So President Biden announced yesterday that he will be releasing about 180 million barrels of oil from the national reserves to offset the effects of Russia's punishments. He plans to release these at 1 million barrels a day for 180 days. This represents about 5% of the American overall gas supply. With gas prices rising every day and midterms right around the corner this fall, the White House is definitely feeling the heat. So this is sort of an effort to offset all of the crazy gas prices. The Petroleum Reserve is one of the few mechanisms that any president has at his disposal to affect gas prices. So Biden is opting to use these to help take off some financial stress at the gas pump for the average American. The oil reserves do exist for this exact type of purpose, war, foreign threats, or natural disasters. That said, 180 days is kind of nothing in the long run of the war. It's a drop in the bucket. If Biden's own words come true and this war does drag on for months or even over a year, 2 years, this addition won't even bridge that gap, not even close. So it really is like a Band-Aid kind of situation, but it may get them through the midterms. So we'll see what happens there. And next up, I want to take another minute to give you guys kind of an update on hunger because we've previously reported that hunger is ramping up and becoming a huge issue in Ukraine that will have ripple effects globally. And now the United Nations World Food Program is speaking out on this impending issue. They've said that the disruption of grain was unlike anything seen since World War II. The UN Security Council is now holding emergency meetings on this subject alone. Farmers in Ukraine are now soldiers, and meanwhile, countries like Egypt and Lebanon are used to getting 80% of their grain from those Ukrainian farmers. And thus, this situation stands to destabilize countries on different continents from this conflict. And to be honest, there are no quick answers here or quick fixes. Even if the conflict magically ended tomorrow, so many Ukrainians have fled or have been killed in Ukraine. And so, so many buildings too, like barns and homes and things like that have been destroyed. People could not immediately get back to work, even under the best case scenario kind of circumstance going forward. So this is just a very dire situation on top of an already very dire situation. So we'll definitely keep you guys posted on this, especially if the UN decides to kind of weigh in and try and help out in some way. So next up, we're discussing starting this coming month, so April. It's actually April now, but starting in April, Americans will have the option to use X as their gender, and the White House steps up different types of legislation surrounding transgender issues. So Biden announced new policies yesterday for the Transgender Day of Visibility. Starting as soon as April this month, Americans will be able to apply for passports with their gender listed as X rather than F or M. This is just the latest development in a push and pull tug of war between Democrats and Republicans to validate or vilify transgender Americans. Biden said in a video statement, quote, "Our entire administration sees you for who you are, made in the image of God and deserving in dignity, respect, and support. We know it's hard when there are those out there who don't see you and don't respect you. To parents of transgender children, affirming your child's identity is one of the most powerful things you can do to keep them safe and healthy. To any transgender American who is struggling, please know you're not alone. To parents and children alike, please ask for help and know this: you are so brave, you belong, and we have your back." End quote. On the state level, Texas, Idaho, Oklahoma, Arizona, Indiana, Utah, Florida, and more have all had legislation introduced recently by Republicans looking to punish people who are seeking to fully transition, whether that is parents trying to help their children affirm their identity, or students trying to participate in sports, or simple conversations on the subject in schools. These bills are looking to restrict what Americans can do to affirm what they feel are their true identities. The Human Rights Campaign is tracking over 300 anti-LGBTQ bills introduced in more than 35 states this year alone. And we're only 3 months in. In 2021, we only saw 147 such bills. So we're almost double last year's amount just in 3 months. The Biden administration also rolled out other actions that they would take to help simplify processes for transgender and non-binary individuals when it comes to travel, education, and employment, to help them fully transition with less resistance. They also said that the Department of Health and Human Services would begin flying a transgender flag. And while that is positive and symbolic, it's not really the type of protection that transgender people are so desperately needing. What they need is to be protected from discrimination as well as physical violence. According to UCLA School of Law, transgender people are 4 times as likely to be victims of a violent crime as a cisgender person. And we all know that they experience much higher rates of suicide and depression from all the obstacles they face just in an effort to be themselves. At the end of the day, we do not have to understand someone to know that they deserve physical safety. And that has to come first. Let's hope that we can make progress on that front soon. And that is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote, "Life is not about finding yourself. It's about creating yourself." If you enjoyed this episode, please consider becoming a patron of our podcast. For $7.99 a month, you can unlock tons of perks like breaking news text messages so that you're never out of the loop. Tons of bonus episodes are already up there ready for you to binge, and a discussion board full of networking opportunities and much more. Go to www.patreon.com/sugarfree media today to become a patron. This is the best way to support our show. Our patrons make News du Jour possible. But a couple other ways to support our podcast are rate and review on whatever podcast platform you use to listen, share on your social media, you have influence, tell your friends, family, and colleagues that you love News du Jour and why you listen. You can also follow us on social media under sugarfreemedia.co on Instagram, just sugarfreemedia, all one word, on TikTok, and sugarfree_media on Twitter. We also have a weekend newsletter called Dreamers Digest that's full of dreamy content recommendations for your weekend and a life update from yours truly. Sign up today on our website, www.sugarfreemedia.co. Our music is by Joey Lavoie and Nicholas Foster. Our cover art is by Hannah Pierce Photography. Our Sugar Free Media logo is by Catherine Jezik Designs. Any twinkling or little footsteps you might hear in the background are by my dog, Rhett. He's a rescue pup and always records with me. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour.
Broadcasting from Oklahoma.